Monday, 3rd grade. Today we are on Chapter 9, The Case of the Problem Pupils. I lost my watch, I heard Phoebe whisper to Kelsey before class began the next morning. They were standing right next to my cage, and Phoebe looked worried. In fact, I'm pretty sure she had tears in her eyes. I really hate to see a human cry. Oh no, your Daisy watch? Where did you lose it? Kelsey asked. If I knew where I lost it, I could find it, Phoebe answered. That made sense to me. Maybe it's in the Lost and Found, Kelsey suggested. You should check it out. Phoebe rolled her eyes. No way. You heard what Thomas said about the Lost and Found. It sounds like a creepy place, Kelsey agreed. Phoebe nodded. Besides, I don't want to go to Mrs. Wright's office. She doesn't like me. Anyway, the last place I saw it was in the bathroom. But when I went back there, it was gone. I just feel terrible, she said. My parents gave me that watch, and my grandma would be disappointed if I lost it. I'm sorry, Kelsey said. Okay, class, take out your homework from last night, Mr. announced. I was spinning on my wheel at the time, so I was amazed to hear him say, and I was so amazed to hear him say homework, that I almost fell off. Mr. E gave homework? When did that happen? I guess I must have dozed off during class yesterday. Who got the answer? He asked. I was surprised when none of my friends raised a hand. Let me write that paragraph on the board so we can all look at it together, Mr. E said. I raced to the front of my cage so I could watch as he wrote and wrote and wrote some more. This is what he wrote. This is an unusual paragraph. I'm curious how quickly you can find out what is so unusual about it. It looks so plain you would think nothing was wrong with it. In fact, nothing is wrong with it. It is not normal though. Study it and think about it. But you still may not find anything odd. But if you work at it a bit, you might find out. Try to do so without any coaching. The paragraph didn't look unusual to me. Just sentences strung together with no mystery words like piewack or pizzazz. Did anyone figure it out? Mr. E asked. A few hands went up. Mr. E called on Rosie. I think it's unusual because it has so many exclamation points, she answered. Good answer, the substitute said, but there's something even more unusual. Next, he called on Thomas. I think it's unusual because it's so long, he said. Mr. E nodded. It's long, but I've seen paragraphs that are longer. While all of this was going on, I read that paragraph over and over again. I'll give you a hint, Mr. E said. Something is missing. Eek! I squeaked as my friends all stared up at the sentence. Finally, Small Paul raised his hand. There's no letter E in it, he said. E, I squeaked. He was right. That's correct. Did you know that E is the letter that shows up more than any other letter in the English language? Mr. E would know that. I'm sure he liked the letter E a lot, but I didn't know it. I think it was the first time I'd actually learned something since he arrived in room 26. So now, why don't you try to write a paragraph without using the letter E, Mr. E said. While you do that, I'll get these cards ready to send to Mrs. Brisbane. My friends all went to work, but I didn't. I was too busy watching Mr. E stack up the cards. I wanted to make sure that my tiny card was still with the others. Whew, it was. Mr. E looked at some of the cards. Joey, would you like to work on this card a little more? He asked. It doesn't have much pizzazz. That's okay, Joey answered. I don't have much pizzazz either. I like things simple. Some buttons, some yarn, a little glitter and glitz, Mr. E asked. Joey shrugged. No, I like it the way it is. This time, Mr. E didn't argue. But I was excited because now I had some clues to figure out what pizzazz really meant. Odd, pizzazz isn't like pizza at all, I squeaked to my friend. It's glitz and glitter. It's zing and bling. It's that little something extra, I explained. Boing? Og sounded a little pie-whacked. It's fancy instead of plain, I said. If you had a very fancy pizza, then you'd think you'd have a pizza with pizzazz. Og leaped into the water side of his tank for a swim. I'm not sure he understood what I said, but at least I figured out that mystery word. Now, if only I could figure out what had happened to Mrs. Brisbane, and why Mr. E was a teacher who didn't really teach, and where, oh where, Phoebe's watch had gone. That's where we'll stop for today. We'll pick it up with the rest of Chapter 9 tomorrow.